just won't stop you go.
Should I just start? Okay. Is it on? All right. Wow, it's working. Hello, everyone. Hope you all had a good lunch. Still eating? Food coma yet? Okay. Before we start, if you wouldn't mind indulging me in a little something, can I ask all of you to just get up for a second? Thank you so much, please. Okay. Now, if you've been using Optimize for over a year, please take a seat. If you've been using Optimize for over a year, if you've just started using Optimize, please sit down. Okay. Few people brand new. All right. If you don't mind just standing, just one more little bit. For people who are sitting down, please look at our friends who are standing up, and at the end of the session, please talk to them and tell them what they're missing. All right. That is your action item for today. Thank you so much. My name is Praveen Krishnan. I'm the product manager for Google Optimize. And today I want to talk to you about what Optimize does and how it can help you drive up conversion. And we'll talk a little bit about how some of our customers have been using the product as well. And hopefully you'll leave the conference excited about the product. Okay, so to get started, I wanted to talk to you about where Optimize fits in this larger picture, right? So if you've been walking around, you know there's a lot of products that Google has that help your business grow and drive growth in general, right? So you have analytics, which takes all the visitors that come to your site and then helps you figure out who the right people are, who are the people that resonate with your business and with your message, right? So Google Analytics helps you figure out your prospects. So you've taken that and you've brought it down. Then you're going to use, there we go. Now that makes more sense, right? So then we take all our fabulous ad products, right, and then drive those prospects straight to the front door of your business, right? That's what you do with all our ads product. And just on behalf of all the Googlers, I'd like to thank you for using our ads products. So once you do that, then what? Now you've gotten all those highly qualified prospects at the front door of your business, right? How do you take them from the front door to the cash register? That's where Optimize comes in, right? So Optimize is the tool in the Google tool belt, so to speak, that helps you drive that last mile of conversion, okay? Who are the marketers in the room? If you're a marketer or analyst, please raise your hands so I can see you. Okay, perfect. I won't make you get up. Great. So as a marketer, you know, right, if you use analytics, you get a lot of insights from that, right? You know who your audience is, you know what pages they're on, you know how they go through your site, where they bounce. It's a lot of good insights. And no doubt, being creative marketers, you also have a lot of hypotheses on what you can do to improve that, right? Any developers in the room? People who are in charge of building out the sites themselves? One. Anyone else? Two. Okay. So marketers, you know that you can't just go to our developers and tell them, I want to change this, I want to change that, and so on, right? They're busy people, right? They're not standing around playing Fortnite all day. So you need to get on their backlog. So it's very important that you have to work with them. And it's challenging because you have ideas at a certain pace and they have their backlog, which is being moved along at a certain pace. What Optimize lets you do is operate at the pace that you want. So it lets you take actions on the insights that you gain from analytics, right? So if you didn't take anything else away from this session, think that you have two superpowers if you have analytics and you have Optimize. One gives you insights, the other lets you take action, okay? So if you've been in the growth business for a while, you know there are a lot of things that can affect growth, right? It's a constant, never-ending project that you have. We talk to a lot of customers who do a lot of growth work, a lot of CRO work. I've run a couple of businesses that had to do a lot of growth work. It's challenging. It's a real pain, and you have to constantly keep evolving. So when we look at what are the general obstacles that people have with growth, they can categorize them into 3 buckets, roughly. And here I'm talking about with respect to the site, right? I mean, if you build a crappy product, you have a crappy product, right? But if you have a site that you're operating, then typically the problems fall into 3 buckets. One of them is obviously speed, right? And most of you know, if you have a slow site, you're not going to get conversions, right? And Google has hammered on that for a long time. But with site speed, once you have a site that's getting pushed out as fast as you can push it out, then you're done, right? It's a fast page. Now, what do you do after that? Then most of the problems fall into 2 buckets. One is content, and then the other is the design of the page itself. And now content is not simply putting the right content up based on your product. It's about matching the intent of the user to the content on the page, which is considerably tricky, right? And so a lot of people stumble on that, and that hampers growth. And then the last is site design, which is very, very important, right? If you have designers, I know there are some designers in the room, you know they all have opinions, and it's very, very difficult to pick the right design, right? So you have to be careful. If you don't pick the right design, you could end up with a lot of lost conversions. So I'm going to talk about a few customer cases where they've attacked some of these obstacles using some of the tools that we have, and I'll briefly touch on what they did to do that. So the first customer is this airline called Transavia in the Netherlands. They're owned by KLM, and they had a lot of traffic to their mobile sites, like probably most of you. And they really wanted to figure out how to improve or reduce their bounce rate and improve their conversions, right? So they were going after the bounce rate problem. So they used Google Analytics, and they figured out what pages the bounces were happening, why they were happening at those pages, looked at where people are navigating through, and essentially, if I recall exactly what they did, they actually had an entire team who built prototypes, which is their CRO team, and they based all their experiments with that team, as opposed to their site design team, right? So they had a dedicated team that did growth experiments. And they ran at least about 10 growth experiments a month, which is fantastic, right? They have a lot of traffic, so they were able to run 10 growth experiments a month. Some of those experiments did really well. One of them they deployed, and they reduced their bounce rates by about 77%. But more than that, the conversions went up, right, quite a bit, which is amazing. So great story on how they tackled one specific problem with analytics and optimize. The next one was about content, right? Remember I said you need to match the intent with the content, right? This next customer is NTUC. They're based in Singapore, and they are the leading financial provider, insurance provider in Singapore. Now, this company is very interesting. They had the entire suite. They have DV360, they have GA360, and they have Optimize 360, right? And they really wanted to figure out how to improve their CPA, their cost per acquisition. So they were driving a lot of traffic. Remember I told you with analytics and their ads, they were sending a lot of highly valuable traffic to their sites, but they weren't converting enough people, right? That last mile. And so they needed to figure out how to improve their ROI on that. So with the help of one of our partners in the region, they started digging into their analytics. They started looking into their display and video 360 product, and they started segmenting users based on the intent of the users. So they looked at which users are going to which insurance policy and which ones are they looking at, and based on that, they were able to qualify them into low intent, high intent groups. And then with those groupings, they were able to move those into GA, see how those groups are doing in GA, and then use Optimize to create personalized journeys for those people in those audiences, right? And so with that change, they were able to drive about 8% more conversions, which then dropped their CPAs by about 50%, right? Now that's real money in their pockets, right, which is very exciting as well. So that's an example of how you can change your content on the site to match the intent of the audience, right? Excuse me. Now, this example is again about content and site design, so it's a combination of the previous two. Now, this one is my personal favorite customer. Now, I know I'm not supposed to pick favorite customers, but I did. So this team builds a product that builds conversion tools for businesses, and they're wholly owned and operated by a rather large software company based in Silicon Valley. It's known to throw large conferences like this. And they had a problem, which was they had a lot of traffic coming in at the top of the site, and they really now had to convert them or get them activated in the product, right? This is a fine team, so they really wanted to get this going. If you haven't picked up on this yet, this is Optimize, and we use Optimize on Optimize. So it's very meta. So what we did here is we started doing analysis with analytics, and then we figured out which pages people were dropping off, and then using our friends in our UX research group, we really dug into why people were dropping off, right? And we understood their workflows and how they fell into various buckets. And based on that, we implemented several changes in the UI, which then drove up our activation rates by about 50%. And every stage in our funnel went up by about 35%. So fabulous story. We were very excited, and we're constantly running experiments on our own product as well. So we released several features in the last year. One of them was personalization. Personalization is one where you don't have to do an experiment. You can just create an experience targeted to a group of visitors and let that run forever, right? So that's a new feature we rolled out. Now with personalization, you could do really interesting things. If you ran an ad campaign, right, typically what you would do is you would run an ad campaign and you would point it to a generic page, or if you had the IT bandwidth, you would create custom landing pages, right? It's a lot of work. Now with Optimize, with personalization, along with another cool feature we have, which is our ads integration, you can now create a customized journey all the way from the ad to your site. Someone clicks on your campaign ad, they go to the site, and now they'll see the tailored experience that you want them to see. Right? Awesome feature. We have a lot of users using this, and we're pretty excited about it. OK, so I'm going to quickly go into some of the new capabilities that are coming out really soon. So if you've been working with different audiences, you know that it's not enough to have a journey that ends on the first page, right? You want to create a custom journey that goes through your entire site, right? And that's what we call multi-page experiences. So as of today, you have multi-page experiences available in Optimize. So you can create these experiments or personalizations that are coordinated across multiple pages on site. So we're really excited about it. It's about time we got this done, but it's there now. And then we've heard a lot from you about how sometimes it's difficult, that not everybody's perfect when they create experiments. So we've added a debugger. This will roll out. It's still in some testing. It'll roll out fairly soon. It helps you create experiments in a much more rapid way as well. And then last but not the least, this is my personal favorite. Went live about 10 minutes ago. And we've heard a lot from customers that they want more ideas on what to test, how to test, what are the best practices, right? And we have a lot of that content. We have several teams in Google that focus on conversion. So we've brought all that knowledge together into one place. We're calling it our Optimize Resource Hub. It has product documentation, it has best practices, it has videos. We're building a community out. And in there, we're hoping you will find more inspiration for how to use the product. OK? So that's my rapid talk. And I think I have a few more minutes for questions. Yes? Yes. OK. Any questions? You can ask questions like, is the product is awesome? Can it become more awesome? Things like that. Yes?
On average, how many optimizations are you running per page? Just one, and then you let that finish, and then start a new one, or you want to run multiple?
Oh, how much should you run as best practice? OK, so it really depends on the type of on your site, right, and what you do on your site. But ideally, it'll be better if you run one experiment on your site. Now, again, I'm making a very general statement, right, because you want to change that actually makes an impact, right, and you want to be able to measure it somewhat carefully and make sure that that is something that you can attribute the problem to, right, or the change to. But again, the product doesn't stop you. You could run multiple experiments on the same page, or you can even do multivariate tests. But what we found is usually like people who have quite a bit of success is they run an experiment on a page, and it's a pretty substantial change. That means there's a strong hypothesis. Then they move on. Right.
So integration with the website, how does it impact the site speed?
Oh, good question. So for us, in order to integrate it, you have to add a JavaScript snippet at the top, right? And if you're going to do any kind of testing on site or any kind of personalization, there will be a slight impact because it has to download something, right? But that being said, we've seen it. It's typically very, very low because all our code is deployed on Google's infrastructure, which is very, very fast. So we usually never have a problem with downloading the content. Sometimes where we've seen challenges is where they've put a lot of changes in the test, which makes the payload larger, or in some cases, it's a mobile site that's in a place where they don't have a lot of good bandwidth, low speeds, in which case we have mechanisms where you can just cancel the test and it'll just load the page. You can time out the test if you want. But generally, we have not seen a major impact on latency. Yes?
If the goal of my landing page is to generate leads, that will be then worked on by a sales team. Can I pass on like the experiment ID and the variant ID to like a CRM tool, or how would I be able to track that through?
The experiment ID and variant ID? Yes. So all our measurement is done in Google Analytics, right? So you can go to Google Analytics and you can create your reports that filter down to experiment and variant IDs. And then if you want to export that to like BigQuery or anywhere, you can do that.
But how would I be able to match that on my lead, which I now have in Salesforce or whatever other tool I'm using?
Oh, so your conversions are happening in Salesforce?
Or any other sales tool. So basically not on the site.
Okay. Yeah, so if you're going to use something like Optimize, you're going to have to like have some event that's on site that you then know, yes, this person has either submitted a lead form or there's some action that they take on site, right? And that's what you're referring to, right? That it's an online to offline type sale? Yeah. Correct. So this NTUC case that I told you is actually an online to offline case, right? So somebody submitted a lead for an insurance policy. They haven't actually converted. But what they do is inside the tool, they optimize for their leads, and then they're able to like connect that with eventually how many of those leads convert. But that's external to the tool.
Hi. How does A/B testing tend to fit alongside decisioning platforms that generate like a next best action?
Decisioning platforms like decisioning on like products or
like have you heard of Thunderhead or Salesforce Interaction Studio? They tend to determine what like the next best action.
Oh, for NBA type things.
Yeah, NBA.
Yeah, so we don't have a direct integration with any of those tools, but the way we've seen it done is so we give you full control over what you can do on the page. I mean, you have full control. We don't give it to you, but you have full control of the page. So you could do things where, let's say you have a separate decisioning engine that determines somebody who's in an audience, because they spent so much money on your site or something like that, and you want to show them something different, right? So you could, on site, on a cookie, you can store if this person belongs to that group, and then based on that, you can set up different variants and point them to a specific experience that you want to see, right? So it's not, so you can wire it together that way.
So can you talk about how you do the personalization on page? So like, can I connect it to my ad unit with like 3 different campaigns and audiences, and then have 3 different images and text that I'm deploying on page speed?
Yes. So how you would set up that personalization? Yeah, so the first thing you do is with Optimize, well, first in AdWords or Google Ads, you'd have to say, share my data with Optimize. Once you've set that up, that's an integration. So at that point, inside Optimize, one of the targeting conditions is your AdWords account. So as soon as you open up the dropdown, you'll see all the campaigns that you have, all the ads. So we can go down to keywords, right? And so once you set that up, and then you decide what you want whoever is coming from that campaign to see, right? So if somebody who sees an ad because of a certain keyword, right? They click on the ad. When they land on site, if you want them to see a specific image, You set that up in Optimize, and then you just link the ad together. That's it. So on the fly, we will connect the specific ad to the personalization. So you're not doing anything on the link or UTM campaigns or anything like that. Okay. Last.
Hi. When we be able to do test cross devices using user ID or Google Signs, for example?
Yeah. So the question was, when can you do cross device? So with user ID, if you have logged in users, you can do it. Without logged in users, it's obviously a little tricky. That's something we are looking into for sure. But anyway, that's a good question. Well, thank you for coming. If you have more questions, we are right across on the other side. We also have our engineers here. Very rare to get them out of the office. So if you have more questions, please stop by. Thank you.